Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 96 of Nats Talk on the Go. It's an off day edition of the show, so hopefully we have people out there in Nats land listening. I am Joe Drugan of natsblog.com.
And I am Antonin Scalia of the Supreme Court.
And you've had a terrible week. That's Craig, also of the natsblog.com and other things like drinking beer. So we're going to get into the show here real quick. We have like a ton of questions from people, which is awesome. So we're going to get to talking about those without too much delay. But we also want to talk a little bit about the week in Washington Nationals baseball, and it has been quite a good one.
It's been a great week for the Nats. The 8-game winning streak was actually broken on Sunday afternoon with the Tanner Roark BABIP-filled start.
Yeah. That was tough to watch just because he really wasn't pitching all that poorly. Like, he missed a few spots and everything, but he was actually pitching pretty well.
Yeah, he was pitching well. It was a terrible situation on Sunday that ended up losing him the winning streak, thanks to the Phillies' utter incompetence in absolutely everything they've ever attempted ever.
Yeah.
Going back to Saturday's rain delay, half-inning burning Geo, which I don't really want to get into because I'm afraid I'll be too negative, and I really don't want to be because the Nationals had just a fantastic week, and it was wonderful to see, and we saw some wonderful baseball things. And
yeah, there's way
we should
too
talk
much
about that. Yeah,
there's way too much good to talk about during the course of an eight game winning streak. So even with the off day Saturday. So I want to start with a topic that we talked about the last couple of times we've recorded a show, and this is the second time in 2 weeks. So you're welcome, loyal listeners.
I know how crazy is that?
We actually planned this last week, so we were really on top of the game. But Max Scherzer, you have to start with him because he's taken a perfect game into the 6th inning in 3 consecutive starts.
Yeah, he has had one of the – we said last week after 2 starts, he had one of the greatest stretches of 2 games in Major League history, and now he's turned that into one of the greatest 3-game stretches in Major League history. And it's really unbelievable. Max Scherzer was always a good pitcher. I mean, we're talking about a Cy Young winner. We're talking about a Cy Young top 3 guy for a couple of years before he ended up signing his 7-year, $210 million contract to come to D.C. But he was never this. He was never, ever this. Before this 3-game stretch, he had a grand career total of 2 complete games.
Yeah.
In the last 3 starts, he's had 2 more.
And in the last 3 games, he's given up 2 earned runs and 6 hits total, 5 of those in his last start.
And a hit by pitch.
Yeah, and a hit. Yeah.
I saw it again today. I see you, Josh. That was not cool.
Yeah. Gotta get reminded every once in a while.
No, you do not. Anyway, Max Scherzer has been more than the Nationals expected. I mean, everyone makes their jokes on Twitter and everything. Oh, he's trying to earn that $210 million in that first year. He is.
Oh, he absolutely is.
It's terrifying, but he is.
You know what the crazy part is about Max Scherzer? And I'm just kind of looking through numbers of his right now. And
that he has 2 different colored eyes?
Well, that's insane. And Max Duchene, the shirt, the good luck shirt on Nats Archive is fantastic. So I just want to put that out there. I as soon as we watched the no-hitter, I went and purchased it immediately because it's really a great shirt. But I'm looking at Max Scherzer's splits right now. Max Scherzer's June ERA, the one in which he threw a no-hitter and an almost perfect game and almost another no-hitter, his June ERA is the highest ERA he's had in any month this year.
Good mother of God.
That he has a 2.33 earned run average in June. In May, it was 1.67. In April, it was 1.26.
Jesus.
That's good.
Flying spaghetti monster.
I can't. Even if you take him to advanced stats, his FIP is also the highest in June. So despite the fact that he almost threw two no-hitters and even almost a perfect game in June, he was more effective in the first 2 months of the season. That's not okay.
Yeah, and like I said, this is not the Max Scherzer that the Nationals signed. This is
But,
something
yeah.
more. This is something way more. He was not this pitcher. He was a 7 innings reliable, high strikeout kind of guy.
Yeah.
But we're talking an 8, 9 inning, 115 pitch complete game kind of guy right now. And that's different. I mean, you don't usually see a pitcher over the age of 30 get to a point where they're peaking right now.
Yeah.
His peak should have been 2.5 years ago. But
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
From all that it seems right now is he's peaking. He is at the pinnacle of his career, and that's kind of scary because the Nationals have him signed for another 6 seasons, but no one expected this. I mean, if this is the peak, we thought his peak was 2 years ago. His peak was a year ago. I mean, if his peak is now, I mean, that's going to give the Nationals another couple of years of really solid performance. So, once again, I implore everyone to really appreciate what you're seeing with Max Scherzer, because this is one of a kind in baseball. You don't see 3 straight performances taking no-hitters / perfect games or whatever it may be into the 6th, 7th inning every day.
Yeah.
So appreciate it while you can, because this is history, and I don't want anyone to have to take it for granted.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, when you look at Scherzer's numbers, I'm looking at his Fangraphs WAR now. He's almost a full win better than the number 2 guy, who's Chris Sale, who's ridiculous. When we talked about him last week and how good he is and how people don't pay attention to him because he's on the wrong side of Chicago. But he is 1.3 wins better than the next NL pitcher, which is Clayton Kershaw. It's not the end of June yet.
Yeah. And what is that WAR?
He has a 4.2 WAR.
Yeah, and we're not halfway through the season yet, so that projects to what? 9?
Yeah, 8.5. I mean, ish. A little over 8.5, probably, because we're almost halfway done.
Yep.
It's something really special that the Nationals are seeing. And to put in perspective, Clayton Kershaw won the Cy Young and the MVP last year in the National League, and he had a 7.6 WAR. So Scherzer's on pace to
obliterate
by almost a full win, which brings me to the next point. Max Scherzer's main competition for the MVP is on his own team.
Yes. There was a tweet I had back and forth with a friend of the pod, A.W. Bays, R.I.P. Jack LaBeam.
Yes.
Earlier this weekend, where it was after Giancarlo Stanton broke his wrist on can I call it a check swing? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a check swing. Yeah, we'll call it that
broke his hamate on a check swing, which, by the way, if you haven't seen, I think it's Nationals 101 tweeted the picture of operation. It's fantastic. I'll retweet it as we speak.
Inside the dugout, maybe?
Maybe inside yes, I think it was inside. I apologize. Sure I'm very sorry. Anyway, Bays tweeted something along the lines of Max Scherzer's greatest competition or Bryce Harper's greatest competition for NL MVP just broke his wrist. And I said, I didn't know Max Scherzer broke his wrist.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of where it is right now. They're kind of in an arms race with each other. And it's really weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. Bryce Harper's OPS just in the last day or two, because of injury and whatever, just slipped below 1,200, which, okay, that's really good. He still leads all of baseball in terms of Fangraph WAR. He's hitting about 340, getting on base almost half of the time. Is still hitting for insane power, has hit 24 home runs on the year. Actually, Todd Frazier has moved into second as far as wins above replacement goes on the Fangraph side, for second place in the National League. He has really turned it on. His hitting well. Has actually eclipsed Bryce Harper in the home run total, which good for him. I like Todd Frazier. I think he's a pretty solid guy. But there really is no doubt that the competition for an NL MVP as of today's recording is between two Nationals players in Scherzer and Harper. There's no question about it when you consider the expectation on the team and the way that both guys, Bryce Harper, during a time where the Nationals offense was unbelievably dreadful, literally carried the team to keep them in the top half of the division for the first half of the year. And then Max Scherzer, when the rotation was completely depleted with injuries, with Doug Fister hitting the disabled list and Steven Strasburg hitting the disabled list and everything else, with bullpen issues to boot, he was basically the guy. And as we've went over earlier, he was actually better in the first 2 months than he was in the month where he almost threw a perfect game and a no-hitter. So it's really unbelievable. What do you think about what those two guys have done? And it's going to be interesting to see going down the stretch who can keep it going. There is a legitimate chance that the Nationals could have both awards, and it might end up being the same guy in Scherzer. It's pretty impressive. And there's a lot of season ahead. Let's not jump to conclusions, but it's certainly not too early to say, sample size junk. I mean, there's no sample size anymore. We're halfway through a season. Bryce Harper has 300 plate appearances, and Max Scherzer has, however many starts he has. I don't have the number right in front of me, but it's not too early to say that those guys are leading contenders for those awards. Agreed.
And I mean, you're talking a first place ball club, almost top of the National League. Cardinals are having a fantastic season, partially because they're very good at hacking things. But the Nationals are well ahead in the division right now, thanks to the Mets doing what we both predicted would happen in that tank.
Well, yeah, we said this all along, and the Mets aren't very good. The National League East isn't very good, and we're going to get into this. Is a listener question from our friend John Fang who asked about it, so we'll get into it a little bit later on. But yeah, the NL East isn't good, and so we talked about this all along. Now the Nationals are dealing with a lot of injuries and have not been playing up to potential up until the last 14 days or so. But overall, they're just it's bad, and the Mets offense there were a ton of jokes coming out from the last week of Mets beat writers who were tweeting out the lineup saying, "This is unbelievable. How could a team continue to put out this lineup despite the fact that their pitching is good and expect to win baseball games?"
Which kind of brings me to the next thing I want to talk about regarding the national season. We've seen in the past week lineups that have featured at any given point, a single lineup will feature Tyler Moore, Matt Dendecker,
Clint Robinson.
Yeah. As much as we love him, Jose Lobaton. I know Danny Espinosa is having a decent year, but he's not someone the Nationals should really be counting on.
Yeah.
You've seen a lineup where there are 2 opening day starters of the 7 players, and one of them is sometimes the pitcher.
Yeah,
and the Nationals are still in the position they are in. It's unbelievable what they've been doing in the past couple weeks with such a depleted roster. I mean, Anthony Rendon to the DL, Yunel Escobar, who's been one of the better players on the Nationals, one of the top 3 Nationals in this season, hit by a pitch, pretty much missed the entire weekend. We can kind of throw that Sunday night afternoon game, whatever, out. But he's missed some time now. And you're looking at the bench players getting meaningful plate appearances that you think are going to help the team in the long run. And the Nationals are still winning. They've won 8 of their last 9 games.
Yeah. And that Saturday, to this lineup point, that Saturday lineup that they put out there to play, 1.5 ridiculous innings, there was the projected Nationals 1 through 7 were not in the lineup. To be able to go out and field a team and like you said, keep winning it's unreal. It's not something that should be possible. And a lot of guys who have gotten a lot of ridicule from people have really stepped up and have really been able to. You could easily say, well, the Nationals have gotten really good pitching lately, and that explains a lot, and that's true. But the offense of an extremely depleted offense has been scoring 5 and 6 runs a night. And you have to give guys now they've been against bad teams, and so you have to kind of look at it that way as well.
And,
but
well, here's the thing with bad teams: you can only play the teams in front of you.
exactly,
I mean, you can only play the schedule in front of you. I mean, you can only do so much, and
it's not the Nationals' fault that they're in the worst division in baseball.
Absolutely, it's not the Nats' fault. They got to go down to Tampa Bay and face a struggling Rays team that they got to play in Atlanta against a depleted Braves team and the Phillies, who are honestly right now a laughingstock in all of baseball. Look no further than Jeff Francoeur pitching 48 pitches.
Yeah.
And Chase Utley yelling at the pitching coach on the mound.
Yeah.
Look no further than that to look at the dysfunction that's within the division right
now. Well,
and
and Ryan Sandberg just resigned and
just said, F you guys, I'm done.
Was certainly not the reason, but Jeff Francoeur should never be in that situation. And it was funny to look at the play on Sunday when he tried to ineffectively get the ball in about 45 times.
Yes,
but I legitimately and Alan Peterson tweeted out this morning let's give Francoeur a pass about this a little bit, and he's right. It's funny a little bit, but the dude had to throw 2 innings and 50 pitches out of nowhere just a couple of weeks ago. And he got a lot of credit in my book for doing that. So he does get a pass for that kind of faux pas on Sunday, but it still was funny.
It was great.
There's no way that you can look at it and not think that it's hilarious.
But I mean, when it comes to the Nationals, it's not the Nationals' decision who they play. That's up to the Major League Baseball, whoever committee/algorithm designs the schedule. I mean,
yeah.
It's not the Nationals' fault that the NL East is an absolute dreadful division. I mean, you can only play the teams in front of you. That's all you can do. And I mean, we've seen the Nationals win 98 games in a tough NL East division.
Yeah.
We're going to see the Nationals win 90 to 92 games in a very, very mediocre division. And that's okay.
Because why do you have to blow everybody out? That's not a necessity.
Exactly. What matters is what happens in September and October. And you just hope for the best from that point on. But, I mean, the Nationals are in a terrible division. It's not their fault they're playing against crap teams. I mean, they should beat up on the crap teams. And right now they are with a terrible lineup, with a bare bones skeleton crew with one bat off the bench. That's essentially what it's been.
Yeah, and you have to give the guys credit that have been playing that didn't expect to be, because they are really doing a stand-up job. Like you said, your Clint Robinsons, your Tyler Moores. I'm not going to put Michael Taylor in that category because I do think he's a major league starter. He's kind of fallen into that role because of injuries, but I think on most teams he would be starting at a corner outfield spot. So I'm not going to put him into that kind of replacement player situation, but at the same time, he's really stepped up too and has cut down on the strikeout numbers and is making a lot of contact over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
And you have to think that getting Clint Robinson, getting Dan Uggla, getting these players some meaningful experience in at-bats right now in June is really going to help the team come September and October.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with that. I think that when you really look down the line, what ends up happening in September and into the offseason, bench players end up playing a huge role. And the Nationals haven't had that in previous off seasons. And if you can do things like keep Danny Espinosa playing and keep him hot and end up having him off of the bench, ideally if everybody gets healthy, and Dan Uggla playing well off the bench, and a guy like Clint Robinson from the left-hand side who you can have playing first base and all around, that's huge. That would be huge for the Nationals to have for a postseason stretch or a postseason run, excuse me.
Absolutely. So 8 out of 9. I think I saw before Tanner Roark's, or actually before Sunday's first game with Steven Strasburg, which I think we really need to touch on in a minute. The Nationals have had, I want to say, a .77 starter ERA in the maybe 10 days leading up to yesterday's 2 games. So you're getting some tremendous starting pitching, just enough offense to really get by. I mean, there's been a lot of close games, but you've got some phenomenal pitching performances by both the starters and the bullpen to really make these games seem like bigger wins than they actually have been.
Yeah, I agree. And on the Steven Strasburg point, we absolutely have to talk about it, because when Steven Strasburg came back from the disabled list, there's no sugarcoating it. Steven Strasburg wasn't right all year before he went on the disabled list, and nobody is a bigger Steven Strasburg defender than I am. I am a huge fan of his. I think that this stuff is incredible, and I think that he could end up having a career on the trajectory of Max Scherzer because he has similar stuff, and I really like Strasburg a lot. He was really bad before he went on the disabled list. He really
was terrible.
And it was because of injury.
Yeah, we could talk about the reasoning all day long, or we could just say he was bad and now he's not.
Yeah, you don't want to overstate. It's been 2 starts since coming back from the disabled list. There's still a lot of things that could happen at the time, but this is one of those things when you look at the starts, and I've seen both of those starts because Steven Strasburg starts are still must-see television for me. Now you add Max Scherzer to the list, and watching Strasburg starts, he just looks different.
He looks so different. He's gone so hard in the paint. Yeah. He's touching 99.
When he threw 99 on Sunday, I just sat and I stared at the television for a while, and I don't think he's thrown 99 since 2010.
It's been a while.
I mean, when he came back from the disabled list, he was down around 94 because between having the Tommy John surgery and people, and I'm sure people around him telling him, you got to not throw so hard, he was not throwing as hard. But I think coming back from the disabled list with full health, got to rest that ankle up and everything else, he's come back and he said, you know what? I see what Max Scherzer is doing. I can do that too. And, I'm not going to try and save it for the 8th inning because I'm not making it that far. So I'm going to come out and I'm going to throw it as hard as I possibly can. And I'm going to make it late in the games. And he's been doing that. And it's been, he made it through the 5th inning in the first start off the disabled list, but he was gassed and everything else.
He only had 1 rehab start.
Exactly. But in that start against Philadelphia, again, depleted Philadelphia team, they're the worst team in baseball, the whole thing. But Strasburg, outside of the fact that he was making hitters look bad, just was impressive. He was locating pitches. I'll tell you, my favorite thing about it, I love that he's throwing, upper 90s now with regularity. He's really sitting 96, 97 now. Whereas before he went on the disabled list, he was sitting 94, 95, which is a huge difference. And he's touching 98, 99. But
and not even that. His breaking stuff.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
That is, the fastball stuff is great. His curveball looks better than it's looked in 5 years.
Major league hitters can easily catch up to 102 miles an hour if they see it enough.
Yep.
If you see that kind of velocity enough, major league hitters will be able to catch up no problem. Where you make your money, where the bread and butter is with the breaking stuff. And when Steven Strasburg is hitting 98 consistently and breaking off a changeup at 90 and a slider at 83, 84, it's unhittable.
Well, his curveball's 84 now.
Yeah.
His curveball was 79, 80, and now he's throwing at 83, 84 miles an hour, and throwing it harder is creating a bite that pitchers just – it reminds me of that first start when Lastings Millage was standing in there, and he threw that curveball, and Millage bailed out, and it finished in the middle of the plate. That's what he's doing now with the curveball. Yeah. And if you have that pitch that you can throw for strikes but also drop off the table, and most importantly for Strasburg, which he wasn't doing before, locating his fastball.
He's following through finally.
Exactly. He is just hitting the glove every time, and that's what makes it really impressive, because he was not doing that at all. He was just trying to blow it past people, and he was throwing softer than he's throwing now. Now he's throwing hard and with location, and you're seeing all the success.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. He, like you said, it's only 2 starts so far, but it's boding very well for the rest of the season. He is looking like the Strasburg of very old. He's not looking like the Strasburg of last year. He's got the velocity of 2010, 2011. He's showing things we haven't seen in quite some time. and it's very impressive, very exciting. I know everyone kind of gets onto the what is it? Hold your butts or whatever. Hold on to your butts on Twitter when he's pitching, but he hasn't required that yet since he's come back in his 2 starts. So appreciate it. I'm rooting for him. I hope he's going to do well because, man, he's been a trooper. He really has. And so far it just seems like he just needed to get right. And I think any human person can understand what that's like.
I absolutely couldn't possibly agree more.
Yeah. I mean, real quick,
yeah.
I think far too often people look at athletes in particular as machines, as there for our entertainment, while forgetting there is a human element. And we've seen it far too often this week alone with Steven Strasburg coming back, needing to get, yes, his body right, but also probably his mind a little bit.
Sure.
And we've seen Ian Desmond, who's gone through, yes, not his own trauma, but one of his best friends and most trusted advisors in Randy Knorr losing his wife. It's been a big effect on Ian Desmond. We've seen the human side of baseball too much, and I think we really need to take time to appreciate the fact that these are people. These are not machines. These are not people that are solely there for entertainment. These are people that have families. These are people that have feelings and that really, need a little more emotional fulfillment than just, oh, he missed the ball, he made an error, what an idiot.
Yeah.
No, maybe something's going on. And we've seen that a little bit too much. And that kind of brings me to Randy Knorr and losing his wife at age 45. It's just incredibly tragic. And it's very, very sad. No one knows why. And I have a feeling it's going to be a while before anyone actually does. But seeing the Nationals kind of rally a little bit around him, led by Ian Desmond, who on the day everyone found out hit the sacrifice fly walk-off and has since, kind of picked things up a little bit. Maybe in memory of that, maybe a little jolt at what really matters to him and sport and family and all that. But
yeah, that was a really tough thing. And watching that walk-off sac fly, and then Ian Desmond's, comments after the game. Ian Desmond, the ultimate class act as far as baseball players go, making those comments. It was a tough thing to watch. It was very emotional, and you gotta feel it if you watch it. So to make that point, definitely thoughts from the Nats blog and Nats Talk on the Go, and really all of Nats fans everywhere, to Randy Knorr and his family through and really an impossibly difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it just goes back to the fact that, Strasburg was terrible, but we have no idea what was going on mentally, physically, anything. We don't know because, these people are vulnerable. They are just like you and I. They go through the normal ups and downs of life. Maybe they have a little bit more money than we might, or a little bit more problems, a little bit more family issues, but they are human people, and we have no idea what's going on in their heads. So the fact that we are seeing Ian Desmond come out of one of his closest baseball family members, this horrible tragedy with Randy Knorr, and kind of almost begin to turn the corner on a season, and we're seeing Steven Strasburg, who had a terrible couple months, take a couple weeks off, find himself a little bit, find his rhythm, come back, and he's pitching like a 24-year-old again. And it's brilliant, it's fantastic, it's a wonderful thing to see, and it really needs to be appreciated a little bit more deeply than just on the surface with statistics.
Yeah, and last weekend when we were at the game, the Nata dude and I were talking about this a little bit, and that exact same conversation that, people, you think about when you go to you have a really bad day, in your personal life, whatever, and you go to work and you're expected to perform at a certain level, and your inability to do that, and then you multiply it by, millions of people watching you play a game that they are invested in, and they're just seeing you struggling, but they're not seeing what's going on in the background. And so it's really important that you remember that, this is their job and they're expected to do these things, but they also have things going on in their personal lives like everybody else. And so it's really important to remember that. I also, before we move to the question part of it, I also want to point out to anybody who's listening live, former Nationals great Nate Carnes has something special going through 5 right now. So if you've got MLB TV, you should go check that out, except he's at 95 pitches through 5, so you're probably not going to see it. But yeah, you should go check that out. And other former Nats great Xavier Cedeno is warming up to come in for him. So that's what's happening in Tampa.
real quick before we get to our next topic of conversation, I regretfully neglected to mention this last week during the Scherzer perfect game, or excuse me, no-hitter, perfect no-hitter discussion. I peed next to Bryce Harper's dad.
That's a thing that allegedly happened.
It happened. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Allegedly? Are you kidding me?
I'm just saying I cannot confirm I was not there.
You were not there. I had someone else there. So here's what happened. I was in the bathroom. I was, doing my thing. Came out of the bathroom. The friend that I was with said, "Oh my God, did you see Bryce Harper's dad?" I said, "Huh?" Because, Joe, you're a man, supposedly. And
not cool.
I'm sorry. It was funny. It was good. So when you're in the bathroom, when the dudes are in the bathroom, you eyes forward.
Yeah, right. That's it's decorum.
Yep, forward.
Yeah.
So, wash the hands, walk out, and then, "Oh my God, did you see Bryce Harper's dad?" No, I did not. I did not. So immediately turned on a dime, walked back in, saw Bryce Harper's dad washing his hands as a mensch, washing his hands. It's good. It's good. So, washed his hands. I think there's been something in the news about how he's hurt his hip, something like that. Hip, knee. He's got something going on. Bryce Harper's dad, that is. So he was limping, followed him out of the bathroom with the biggest grin on my face because it was definitely Bryce Harper's dad. Why he was using the main concourse bathroom and not the President's Club bathroom, no idea. But it was immediately confirmed that it was indeed him because he literally left the main concourse bathroom and walked right into the President's Club.
Well, there you go.
So,
we've officially spent way more time than I wanted to on this topic, so we're going to move on.
You know what? That's fine.
Okay.
It had to be mentioned. I meant to talk about it last week. I didn't, but I'm pretty sure that's the only reason Max Scherzer was able to get a no-hitter.
That might be true, but either way, We're going to move on to awesome questions that people have asked. And we're going to start with, some people who ask serious questions, and then we're going to move on to the ones that are really, really fun. And I still have to come up with a thing real quick. So I'm going to ask some questions, and I'm going to rack my brain while you answer them.
I just want you to know that P-Talk got a big response on Twitter.
Yes, it did. And despite that, I'm still moving on because it's really awkward. So we have 2 questions, one from our good friend A.W. Bays that we talked about, and from our other good friend, the Dan. They kind of go hand in hand, so we're going to ask them together. Adam asks, Nats moves at the trade deadline, and Dan asked, who would Rizzo need to get offered to let go of Desmond? So we're going to do 2 of those together. So go ahead and talk about what you think would have to happen in order for Ian Desmond to be moved, and if the Nationals are going to make any moves at the deadline, and if so, what they are.
I honestly, right now, don't, and please don't crucify me on Twitter, people. I don't think it would take much to trade Ian Desmond. If you've read my piece on the Nationals, on the Nats blog today, Ian Desmond's not having a good year. I know everyone knows that, but putting it into numbers, we're talking like a sub 650 OPS this season. Like, it's really, really bad. Everyone loves Ian Desmond. He's a wonderful shortstop. He is a great clubhouse guy. He's been a great trooper for the Nationals organization for the last 11 years. But I really don't think it would take too much to trade a player with, 3 months service time left who's hitting 225.
Well, that to me is the answer. As soon as you get some guys back from injury, when you start getting guys like Rendon back, and you get Jason Worth back, and you have guys that kind of don't have to play all over the field like Robinson and Tyler Moore are doing right now, I think that's ultimately the answer to the question. If those guys can get back and actually be healthy before the trade deadline, it probably makes some sense to move Ian Desmond. And if the Nationals do not plan to sign him to a long-term deal in the offseason, if they already don't plan on doing that, you're right. It's not going to get that much back. He's a rental, and he's having a down year in a contract year. So that's not to say that I think the Nationals should not re-sign him. I'm not convinced that they shouldn't yet. I think that there's a whole lot of things to determine that. And I still think, given anything, he's still among the 3 best shortstops in all of baseball, especially when you consider his durability and his defense. So I don't think that the Nationals should be out on the Desmond sweepstakes. I have a personal affinity for Desmond. I like him a lot as a person, but I also think he's a really good baseball player. That said, I don't disagree that he's having a down year, and quite honestly, the Nationals probably wouldn't get all that much back.
Yeah, he's not worth much right now.
And a lot of that is due to the fact that it's 3 months of him, and as of right now, it's a down him.
Yeah, it's a 3 months of a crappy non-silver slugger of the past 2 years, Ian Desmond. It's a shell of what he has been, and right now the Nationals are getting decent defense out of him. I mean, he had 8 errors in his first 12 games, and he has 9 since.
Yeah.
So he's doing much better. He's not fantastic. He's not the Ian Desmond of old, but he is still providing the Nationals with a lot. And, the Nationals have Trey Turner, who I want to say is hitting over 320.
He's hitting really, really well.
Just waiting at AAA Syracuse to come up in the instance that Ian Desmond is there. So right now, the Nationals don't necessarily need Ian Desmond as much as Ian Desmond needs the Nationals.
Well, and I think it's really telling of Trey Turner that he came over from San Diego after the period passed where he could officially be a named player instead of a player to be named later, and within a week he was promoted to AAA. Yeah. I mean, that happened almost instantaneously. So I think that makes a huge difference. He's hitting 316 in the minor leagues right now. He does not have a hit yet in Syracuse, but that's in 3 games. So there's a whole lot to be seen there. But he was even hitting better in 10 games in Double-A here than he was out on the West Coast. So Trey Turner is going to be a legitimate player, and it's whether or not the Nationals think that he's going to be ready on opening day 2016 and to be their starting shortstop or not, which is going to make the difference to whether or not Ian Desmond, I think, stays on the team. So it's a really good set of questions. Any other moves you think the Nationals might make?
I think it's pretty clear the Nationals are always looking for bullpen help.
Yeah.
David Carpenter's been fantastic since coming over.
Yeah, he's been really great.
Thornton's been great. Storin, of course, has been great. Tanner Roark, when he's actually in the bullpen, which I would actually really like to get into for about 2 minutes if we have a second.
Yeah, so actually, it'll segue us right into the next question from Michelle. So yeah, go ahead.
So let me finish up with the bullpen real quick. But Felipe Rivera is not going to get the job done. Grace isn't going to get the job done. Taylor Hill is not going to get the job done. So you're looking at a couple spots that the Nationals really have in the bullpen that could really use some work. Jansen's great, but he's not the 8-inning guy the Nationals hoped he would be.
Yeah.
And he wasn't last year. It was kind of taking a chance, but he's definitely not that guy. Not saying he's not going to be a good bullpen piece, but we're talking a 6th, 7th guy in the bullpen, not a 2-3 guy in the bullpen.
He's a middle. He's a middle reliever.
Exactly. The injury to Craig Stammen really hurts.
Yep.
This year, it hurts more than I think anyone has actually realized or talked about so far. But I think bullpen help is cheap. Bullpen help is easy to find. There's always a lot of options out there where you don't have to pay too much for it. And getting to Tanner Roark, I'm really starting to get concerned about the handling of Tanner Roark. He has been a starter. He's started 4 games, I want to say, for the Nationals this season, and he's pitched in the bullpen probably a dozen times, I would say, at least this season. And
he started 6 games and appeared in 14 others. So 14 relief appearances, 6 starts.
There we go. That terrifies me. For a young pitcher to be going from short bursts where you're unloading the tank in 2-inning bursts to we need 6 innings out of you, that terrifies me for a young arm. And it's not like he started the season in the rotation and moved to the bullpen and he got 6 starts and then 14 or 12 more bullpen appearances. We're talking bullpen for 2 weeks starting, bullpen for 2 weeks starting 2 games, bullpen for a week and a half starting 3 games. It's back and forth, back and forth. And I really think that's going to be damaging to his development. And it's really starting to scare me, especially after Sunday afternoon's appearance, where it seemed to me that his velocity was down. He's never been a big strikeout guy. And I don't think it's very healthy for him to be doing this whole back and forth thing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's concerning to me too. Just when you see guys switching roles all the time, it's definitely something you have to pay attention to because it has a long-term effect on them. Guys get set up in routines, and what Tanner Roark's been able to do is kind of be a rubber guy for the Nationals for a couple of years. I mean, he mostly started last season, but in the previous year, he was kind of moved between bullpen roles, and he was starting in the minor leagues, and he was kind of moving from place to place. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think it's a little bit concerning, but I also think that Tanner Roark seems to be one of those guys who I think a lot of times with those moves, it ends up being more mentality than physicality. And I think that Roark's one of those guys that's fine with being in whatever role that can help the team. It's not going to be like a situation which, as much as we love him back in 2014 with Ross Detweiler when he got thrown into the bullpen, and he clearly was not cool about that. And it ended up being a little tough. So I'm not all that worried about it, to be totally honest with you. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on moving between roles.
Yeah.
So
let's get to some of these questions.
Yeah, to continue with Michelle's point, which is kind of where we were going with that, bullpen management. Has Matt Williams improved his bullpen management, or did he figure out the roles? Thornton, I'm guessing she's asking if Thornton or Carpenter for the 8th inning, or Thornton / Carpenter. So I'm assuming the question is Thornton or Carpenter for the 8th.
I hate roles.
Yeah.
As I'm sure most people probably know. I don't want anyone to have a role. I want the highest leverage to go to the best pitcher. I would rather see Drew Storen come in the 7th with 1 out and bases loaded than in the 9th with a 3-run lead and no runners on.
Yes, I completely agree.
Therefore, roles aren't a big consideration for me. What was the other part of that question? Specifically,
has Matt Williams improved his bullpen management, or did he just figure out the roles and then Thornton or Carpenter for the 8th?
I do not think Matt Williams has figured it out even a little bit. And I don't think you really need to look much further than this weekend with Max Scherzer struggling to get through 7 innings after throwing 2 complete games and being utterly fantastic. He went back out for the 8th. And it looked like in the 7th, he was absolutely on fumes, struggling. Gave up the homer to Ben Revere.
Yeah, Revere got his 1 home run for the year.
Who I think has 3 home runs in his 2,200 plate appearances.
Yeah, he gets like 1 a year.
Not even more.
Less than 1 a year.
Less than 1 a year. He gave up a home run to Ben Revere.
Yeah.
So obviously the guy's on fumes, and Matt Williams still decided to send him out. Same thing I believe happened Sunday in the first game with Steven Strasburg. This is a guy who, in his second appearance back, had 8 strikeouts, had thrown 85, 90 pitches, was looking a bit tired, sounding a bit tired. I was listening on the radio. And sent him back out for the 7th. And so far, it's worked. It hasn't bit him in the ass too much yet, but it will.
Yeah, for me, I feel like with the bullpen management, I think with the Scherzer return, from everything that I heard and read, Scherzer was really lobbying for that. And yes, it is Matt Williams' job to do that. But I don't know if you're Matt Williams, how you tell Max Scherzer after what he did that even though he's lobbying for it, you can't do that. So, I kind of am on. It's hard for me to criticize Matt Williams for that decision.
Yeah, but you're talking a comfortable lead.
No, I get it. I just feel like, it's one of those situations where as a manager, in my opinion, you're kind of hamstrung. You just say, listen, you say, I'm going to pull you, and Max Scherzer says, F you, you're not going to pull me. And if I'm Matt Williams, I say, okay, fine. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with that particular move. There have definitely been some times where it really feels like the starter's been gassed and there's really no sense. And it really feels like in the last several starts, there's really no sense in all of that in that pitcher coming back out. But he does.
And the most difficult part of this is the starting pitcher is obviously gassed going into this extra inning, but there's no one warming up.
Yeah, it's hard when a pitcher's not when nobody's warming up, but that's the mentality of you're gonna trust your guy, and if the starter sees a reliever out there, he knows he's not being trusted, and it gets into a mind game.
Bullshit.
I don't think it is. I think there is a definite.
I think it's bullshit.
I don't think it is. I think there's definitely a mind game going on there. And I think that there's also a point where you look at what Matt Williams is doing. He's looking forward and he's saying, like, listen, there's a whole lot of opportunity going down the stretch for starters to be stretched out with a bullpen that has been pretty ineffective over the course of the year to say, you know what, we need to put our starters in spots where they can say go 7 innings. And when you have a guy that goes out there and is not looking particularly good, it's hard for me to watch because I really would rather have a reliever come in. But at the same time, I think I get what Matt Williams and Steve McCatty are doing, and they're saying, okay, well, you struggled a little bit in that last inning. You're up around 90 pitches. You're kind of hitting the end of your pitch count, and you say, well, let's see what you can do. Let's see if we're in a tough spot with a 3-run lead and we don't want to go to our bullpen, what can you do? I don't really have a huge problem with it as much as I have before. That said, I have gotten kind of up in arms about it in other cases. And so I think it's really a case-by-case basis. In terms of the Scherzer part, I don't have a huge issue with him coming out to that 8th inning, just because, like I said, I don't think you could possibly say to Max Scherzer after his 2 outings, well, actually, I'm going to have you sit, even despite the fact that you say you have enough and you want to go another inning. You've given up 1 hit in 18 games and struck out 26 batters, but I'm going to tell you no. I just don't know how you do that.
That's fair.
That's my one thing. Like, I don't disagree with that he probably should have come out. I just don't know if you're Matt Williams, how you actually tell the guy that he can't keep pitching with how good he looked.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's that. So 100 people were surveyed. Who is the worst division in Major League Baseball? Craig McHenry.
Can I get the NL East?
Survey says, ding, first place. The National League East is atrocious. They're awful.
Oh, God.
I had to find a way. I had to find a way. But the National League East is really bad. And
it's bad.
It's something that we see every day, but even if you look at the standings, they have the worst team in baseball The meat of the division is below 500. I mean, it's a joke. They're very bad. And that's how the Nationals, as Craig said earlier, could easily win the division with like 90 wins. And I think that there's a pretty good chance that happens. There's no way that that the NL East isn't that division. I don't think it's particularly close when you look at the rest of the divisions.
No.
Yeah. So 100 people were surveyed. It's terrible. I'm not even going to go there. Who's the worst division? The best division. I'm sorry. The best division.
Honestly, I think right now it's probably the AL Central.
Yeah.
I mean, the Twins are fantastic. The Indians are solid. The Royals are fantastic. It's really a weird thing to say, but it's a good division.
But seeing Kansas City and Minnesota at the top of that division is like the most bizarre thing ever. It's fantastic.
Yep, it's very, very bizarre.
I'm going to go with the Central, but I'm going to go with the NL Central.
Oh.
Because the cheating Cardinals are the best team in baseball right now by record.
Also the best fans I've heard.
Yeah, so I've heard things. But even with Pittsburgh being almost 10 games above 500, they're 9 games back, but they're still 10 games above 500 in a very competitive division. The Cubs are above 500. You know, Milwaukee's a bit of a joke in that division, but I think those top 3 are about as good as the top 3 teams in baseball are right now. And so that's kind of where I am with that. I flirt with going with the AL East just because the top 4 teams are above 500 and all within a game of each other, which is pretty impressive. I just can't stand the AL East. So I'm just not even going to give them the credit that they probably deserve, with Baltimore and Tampa Bay sharing the top of that division, which is also kind of awesome. I have to admit that it's not the Yankees or the Red Sox. But yeah, I would say the NL Central, but the AL Central is definitely up there. No doubt about it in my mind. Just watching what Kansas City's been able to do and all their crazy All-Stars.
I was going to mention the All-Stars.
All of the All-Stars. Kansas City's probably going to have 5 starting All-Stars in the American League, which is crazy. But, I mean, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. But, boy.
This one counts, buddy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This one counts.
Yeah, this one counts. Kill me now. John Feng asks us which position players on the Nats would you like to see pitch the most?
Jason Worth.
Jason Worth, huh?
Yeah. Oh, no question. I think he's got a knuckler that's probably just the greatest 55-mile-an-hour flutter you've ever seen.
Yeah, that might be pretty cool, actually.
And then he would throw 90 in a ribs.
Well, he
doesn't care.
I didn't think about off speed. That's kind of cool. For me, it's Danny Espinosa.
Really?
Because I think he could throw 104 miles an hour.
I think he could throw really, really fast. But once again, I mean, Jason Worth, who else is going to – I guarantee you Jason Worth throws a knuckleball, and he would not be afraid to put one in anyone's ribs.
Yeah, Worth is a good call. It's not something I really had considered, but you're right. I think he's probably got some stuff. So I would say Worth is probably a decent call. With Danny Espinosa's arm, I just want to see him get on and throw as hard as he possibly can.
Who would you least like to see?
Who would I least like to see? Ooh, that's hard.
Ryan
Do you have somebody?
Zimmerman.
Yeah. Is that too soon?
No, it's not. It's fantastic. See, what we'd have to do is you'd have to leave the ball like on the rubber, and Ryan Zimmerman would have to like run up and like grab it and make the throw like quickly, like he was making a barehanded throw. like a roving submarine throw. Exactly.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Also, somebody I can't believe I didn't add to the list. Bryce Harper, I would like to see pitch, obviously, because that arm. But
that arm dough.
That arm dough. As far as guys that I'd least like to see, I mean, Ryan Zimmerman's the obvious answer. Now that I think about it, because that would be unfortunate.
You guys are the best Twitter. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great show. Great questions. I don't know who I would least like to see throw right now. I'm just gonna leave it go because I don't really have anybody because Ryan Zimmerman's the answer. I don't know. That's the answer because it's just sad.
Yeah.
And then I think the most important question of the evening for me so far, which came from the beard, Jay Worth's beard, asks us, if you could be any Nationals player for a day, who would it be and why?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Depends on the day, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Bryce Harper would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because I would really like to be in the body issue of ESPN.
Yeah.
And just
to be able to do that in general.
Well, no, I'm just saying I would like to horrify people with my body.
Oh.
It's not a pretty sight. It's really not. It's ghostly, it's hairy, it's awful. Outside of him, I would say honestly Gio Gonzalez. I think he has the most. Oh God, Max Scherzer has a lot of fun too. Probably Gio, because I look better after I get a haircut, and he gets a haircut every 5 days. So
that's a good call.
So
a solid call.
Gio.
That's a solid call.
And he makes a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. So. Yeah, I'm going with Max Scherzer. First of all, I think his personality is phenomenal, and I would like to be able to enjoy that for a while. Also, he's just so good. I just feel like I would like to know what it's like to be him in the clubhouse on any given day, because he just seems like he has so much fun, whether he's starting or not. He's got a great persona, whatever. I would just like to live that life for a day, see what it's like, also be really good at throwing a baseball, and have a phenomenally progressive wife.
Oh God, I'm so glad you said. I was literally just about to say, and how amazing is his wife? And how perfect are Max Scherzer and his wife for this city?
Yeah, they are perfect DC fits, and so it'll be good to see them over the next 6.5 years making a bunch of money in the city, because they've certainly earned it. Scherzer's earned the money already, but just the two of them just seem to fit with the persona of the city very well. And so I would go with Scherzer. I would also, if I was picking a top three, Harper would obviously be on it, because Bryce Harper. And then I don't know where I would finish that one out. That's interesting, but definitely it would be Scherzer for me. Gio's obviously a great one too, because he's got a great personality. But yeah, Scherzer for me for a whole lot of reasons.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
Well, unfortunately, you're not going to get any more of it right now, because this is the end of episode 96 of Nats Talk on the Go. This was a whole lot of fun.
This is the end. My only friend, the end.
We're serenading you now, so that means it's definitely time to end the show.
Way past time.
Way past time. But thank you for the questions. They were seriously awesome. Oh, no. Johan asked a question we've got to answer.
No.
What would your
Johan.
What would your walk-up? He typoed, so I'm gonna fix it for him. What would your bat flip be like if you hit a walk-off granny in extreme detail? You have 10 seconds of extreme detail. Go.
I would carry my bat around the bases like Pedro Serrano.
Damn it!
Kiss it and love it, and I might do a little horsey with it.
Holding my bat was definitely going to be the answer.
I would do the horsey with it.
I would. I don't know. I feel like I would throw it up in the air to the bat boy, and then somehow communicate that the bat boy needed to bring it back to me before I touched home. I don't know. I feel like it would be something like that.
Oh my God!
That it would just be epic bat throw, but then like get it back and then throw it back up in the air before I touched home plate. I feel like that's what it would be.
You would be like a majorette in a marching band.
I'm not even mad.
You would wear the tights and everything. It would be the best.
It would be fantastic for everybody but me.
Oh, that's great. Real quick to end the show.
Yeah, go ahead.
Joe and I are considering doing a live podcast for show 100, which is coming up shortly. There was some talk on Twitter earlier about making it happen. Pretty much what Joe and I have decided is, if the group of fans, can I say fans? Is that weird?
I'm going to go with loyal listeners, because they probably don't actually like us very much.
Yeah, that's very true. If the group of loyal listeners wants it to happen, they plan it, we will show up. We are terrible at planning, and we are terrible at everything. So I mean, obviously, you see the consistency of our show. It's not good. So if we would love to do it, but if someone wants to help us plan it, that would be fantastic because we'd really love to do it, mostly just because we want to hang out with you guys, not because we want you guys to listen to us. Because I know, speaking personally, I have nothing valuable to say ever.
Well, I want to piggyback on that point and say I completely agree with the sentiment that it would mostly be to hang out with you wonderful people that listen to the show, not actually to record a show. We would record one, and it would be the best episode ever for episode 100, and it would be a lot of fun. But like Craig said, we are not good at the planning of things, and many of you are very good at the planning of things. So we're just going to rely on you to plan a thing. We will worry about the equipment and the details of it when it happens, and if you guys can get it happen. But yeah, we'll go anywhere. We'll record it. We're basically wherever you want us to, but we're just not very good at the planning of it. So we'd love to do a live show for episode 100 in a few weeks, 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks. But yeah, if somebody else wants to plan that, that would be great.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah, I'm glad that you hit on that point. That was the last one I was going to hit. So thank you very much for listening on this off day. If you're listening during the week, hope you had a great week. Have a very safe and happy 4th of July with your friends and family. And we will talk to you guys hopefully next week.
Yep.